Hey there, Lego here in the flesh. I just turned on my computer and I had an idea because I saw a fellow creator making some artwork and I thought, hey, I'm going to try to do something. So, straight ahead, no plan ahead, I'm just going to do a little bit of an edit here to see if I can make a star sky. I've done those before, but I just had an idea. So, without further ado here, I'm trying to ad-lib this as I go. We're going to have a simple style layer here, just for the background layer. Start off there. We're going to turn snapping on, and I just want to start off with a dark background here. No border, fill and stroke. Yeah, we don't want any stroke. We want to fill. Right. So darky, 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 darky. Let's go very dark blue, almost black. Nice start. Let's add a gradient and do something like this perhaps. I want it out of the picture so the gradient is outside of the borders. That's very important for me. We're going to turn off just a tad. Let's go, no, let's actually go with something like this. Very, very, very dark. But if you just look enough, there's a hint, there's a smidge, a little hint of some darkness. And actually so if I do this, you can see clearly there's something going on, right? So even though it might appear black and black, there is actually something's going on. So far so good. Okay, let's start throwing in some paths here. And I'm gonna turn off snapping. Let's go with a wide shot, just moving on, just something like this. Something like this. I'm gonna make this a little bit brighter like that, and then I'm going to go and use my watercolor, and it's very, very dark. But if I do this and I do this and I do this, maybe and I do that, now we might be onto something. So something. Maybe if I add a little. See, it's not so much the colors that matters, it's the transparency. Because I don't want this to stand out too much. But at the same time, I want where is the I need 50, something like this perhaps. And then I'm going to just take a copy of this and I'm going to make it smaller, and then I'm going to make it lighter because that's going to give the effect that I need. So I'm going to turn the shade down to 80 and 20. And then I'm going to stretch it out, I think, just a bit. And I'm going to need to lower the opacity a bit. No, that's a bit much. Something like that. Yeah, okay, so far so good. Let's take another example and do something a bit more widespread. Let's see how this works out. If I just take the entire area above and make something like this, and I take the opacity up just for the watercolor effect, I need to have the full opacity to start with, so I have something to work with. and then I'm going to lower it back afterwards. Let's just do something like this maybe. And I'm going to repeat no, it's too bright. How about this actually? And then we just lower the opacity. How does this actually fare? Because it's very dark, you can barely see it, but as far as texture goes, if you can talk about such a thing in space, I think this might actually give something. Now I'm going to take both of these, I'm going to group them together, and then I'm going to put them not at the lowest, so you can see the difference when I do this, this. I think it adds something. It's okay at this point. Let me see what I can do otherwise. Let's actually look at some of the... Let's look at some stars, just to... Sometimes you need the big elements before the small elements. Sometimes you need the reverse. Let's do some basic star work here. And we'll take a star, we'll make it 8 points, spokes, something like this maybe 0.7, randomized 0.1, 0.2, 0.15, something like that. Sure, why not? Let me get a couple of those. So what I'm doing now, I'm just generating a bunch of presets, and then I'm going to take these, I'm going to make them, well, white is the wrong color. I'm going to want to change that later, but for now I just need to have these on hand, and I'm going to make a border so that I can see where I have those, because I'm going to make them very small very quickly. Something like this maybe. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the good old spray tool, and I'm going to use the copy, clones, object single path. I'm going to be using the object single path because it's a lot easier to fix later if I make a mistake. And we're just going to go crazy on this. So amount, rotation 100, scale, I'm going to say 100, maybe 50, scatter 10, focus 1. So let's just see what happens here. Okay, so this is far too much, but I'm going to see it through because I might learn something. If you start an experiment and you stop early, you don't get all the data necessary to fix your mistakes. So even though I can see this is not going the way I wanted, I'm going to continue on because I might learn something more than just my initial mistake. So having done this, let's see what actually goes on here. First off, the size is too bright. It's too white, and I knew that from the start. But also, it's too big. And at this point, there's way too many nodes going on here. You can see there are 7,500 nodes in this. And at this point, be quiet. At this point, I don't need all the detail because no one's going to notice it anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my little test objects here. I'm going to take these and I'm going to remove some of the, we got 14 objects, we're going to simplify those. And that probably didn't work because they are still stars, which means I do object to path and then I do the simplify. And it did something, I'm sure. But at this point I could probably, let me try and take another path. There's 9, 8, 10. Yeah, okay, so that helped a lot. One more time. I want to do this almost at the point where a simple circle would be just as efficient. I don't think we can get any simpler than this. So let's try that again. I'm going to take these and at this point let's try some different settings, because the first time it was a little crazy. It covered a lot of area, but it didn't put down a lot of actual stars. It wasn't matched properly in that regard. So let's try and do this again, but with a different idea. So width is too big, frankly. So let's put this down. Scatter is 5. Let's do, actually let's keep that at 10 for now. And I'm just going to try and do a pass again. And I can already tell there's an area I need to improve on. But I'm going to keep going here just because I might learn something else while I'm at it. And I've already started the command, so I might as well do it until I'm finished. Now I can see once I get the flow going here, you see there's a lot of stars in the start because I lack movement. But once I start moving at a strangely slow pace, but still sort of steady speed, you can see it reaches a sort of pattern, is a strong word, but something like that. And you can see here we have only 3.2 thousand nodes, so it's a lot faster this time, and you can see I'm having an easier time of it moving about. But they're still too bright, and they're too big as well. I don't like the size. So we're going to try and fix some of those issues. The first is going to be by getting rid of those because they are too complex in terms of nodes. And instead what we're going to do is just a couple of different circles just to have some base differences. And then I'm going to make them very small indeed. And I hope, yeah, this should be more the right size. So I'm going to take those, I'm going to make them into paths just out of principle, and then I'm going to try something different because this is a separate layer, so that gives me some opportunities. Let me take the amount down and the scatter up, while also making independent copies this time. I want to see if I can tackle the lag issue. So we'll start off running here, maybe from this direction. Yeah, and you can see the lag, or maybe you can't see, but you can maybe tell that the lag is completely gone because now it's not making one single path of thousands of objects. Instead, what it's doing is just pasting individual copies, and then it doesn't have to think about those anymore as I pass along. Now the spray here, or the density, is focused or made by the scatter. So a high scatter means it's not just one clump moving in the direction that I'm going for, and I can sort of determine where I want the most stars to be at. Now this is much more like it. The downside is I have thousands of different independent objects here, and I'm not going to be able to manipulate those in any sort of fashion as they are without me unionizing them. But that's what the unionizer is for, right? So I can take all of these and I can unionize those. Union. And what that lets me do is manipulate the color, opacity, stuff like that, the way they would have been able to be manipulated if I had just made it into a single path from the start. But this way I avoid the lag issue initially, and I just have to wait for the PC to finish going through these 1500 objects. And this shouldn't be like, it's not difficult, it just takes time. In terms of the really intensive millions of node stuff that you can sometimes risk getting tangling with if you're using textures. Um, in comparison to that, this is not bad. It just takes some time, but it's worth it because I can get rid of some of the whiteness. It's a bit too bright, it's a bit too on the nose, and there's a bit too much contrast. I can play with that once I have everything unionized together, so it looks the same-ish all the way around. And I can do some cool things like apply some mesh gradients to give some differences and play around with some of the cloud thing that I put there in the middle. We'll see how that goes. And of course, the thinking here is not helped along by the fact that I'm recording this as I go as well. Sometimes when I do time lapses, I turn off the recording if I sense that it's going to go on for a while, but right now it works out fine. And we are going to change a little bit about the, yeah, we're going to, let's lower the opacity to 80%, see how that did. Already that looked a lot better. And I'll also change the color to a very, very, very light blue. You might not think it did that much, but I think it did a lot in terms of the clarity. And if I can just do one more thing, it would be maybe 2% blur, just a teeny tiny smidge to really do something. So there we have it. That's the basic cloudy thingies there, and I can go with that further once I'm done with the coloring, because now I have the objects. It gives me a bit of a context when I need to look at the clouds here. So I made these way back. Let's actually go back and add some more depth to that. So I'm going to take my favorite tool. I'm going to take my freehand tool. I'll apply maybe something like this, and I'll take a very light pink, something like this maybe. Take my opacity up first of all. Then I'm going to apply some watercolor, and that's a bit much right now, but once I do some maybe this, and then I can take the opacity down a bit, maybe 60, that's about right, that looks good. And then I'm going to add a gradient where we go, actually we're going to take this back to 100 so that we control it completely by the nodes instead, and that way we go to maybe 40, 50 on that, 80 on that, no, 90, no, 100 then, apparently. I just want to, because once you have different nodes, it's best to play with the transparency on the individual nodes instead of the whole object, because otherwise you get multiple layers of transparency and you don't have full control anymore, at least not in my opinion. So if we go to 30, something like that might be good, and let's just do 95, something like that. and we can do more of these just as well as we please. I can take a let's take a long thin streak of something. I don't know the space terms. I just know it looks pretty, and we'll do a very pale green. I'm not sure how this is gonna work out. I mean it's passable. We'll take the opacity way down. Yeah, that looks that looks pretty good. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just that looks like something you might find in space. So I don't really care, I suppose. That is actually an interesting effect. Let's try and make that. Can we do a bit more density on that? Almost like a shadow. Nah, nah. But let's see if we can do, because those clouds in the middle, I really feel like they should pay off in some way. So I'm going to try and see if I can. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can do some. Let's see if I can do. Let's take the original scheme of that. Put that back. Make a watercolor. Yeah, that's not half bad. That's not half bad. Take that and maybe some intervening one on the opposite end, just for laughs. Make a kind of rugged outline there, and steal the exact same color scheme, and we'll do some watercolors. You can say this is lazy. I think it's a great investment on not a lot of effort. I'll try to invert that, see how that looks. That might be better actually. Something like this, and maybe this is a bit much. Maybe this is a bit on the nose. Um, Too much of anything is a bad thing, you could say. And in that case, I can try and see how it actually impacts. Oh, why is? Oh, because they're white, of course. In hindsight, I should probably have taken the clouds and put those on its own layer. So I can do that real quickly. Let's see. The stars are above and the clouds are below. So that would be. I'm just calling it smoke because that's what it is essentially. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and this, and this, and this, and I'm just going to put that into its own layer. There we go. And then I'm going to make that disappear so I can see what's left. We got that, we got that. Smoke, and then we got that. And we'll put that in the smoke as well. And then we are left with just the background. Great. And we can take this and turn that off. Turn that off, and then there we go. We got the star sky. So if we don't like this, if this is too much, we can take this and make that disappear. Make a stars 2, just sort of giving us the ability to play around a bit with this and see if a different set of stars might be better. I need to take this and move it along with me. Stars 2, please. There we go. Away with those. So I have my objects ready to spill on. Now last time I did a lot of stars. This time let's see if we can do a bit more minimalistic. So same amount, same everything. I'm just going to be moving my mouse quicker. And maybe I want to zoom out a bit so I can cover more ground with less strokes. So let's start again applying some stuff here, just going back and forth, no set pattern. I don't want the stars to be in any sort of pattern, but something like this might work, like so. And I'll just be sure to take the edges as well, because you always forget the edges. And like this, we have something that might be a bit more spread out than the first attempt. So I'm just trying to see this side by side, a lot of dense spread. Yeah, I think I like this better actually. So let's just go with that for now. And it still appears to be pretty bright because I haven't done anything about the colors yet. Let's do the same thing we did last time. Very bright. Oh, sorry. Take these. I'm going to want to unionize them together. I'm going to do the same thing I did the first time. I will unionize them. I'll make them a little bit transparent. I'll make them a little bit blue, because I find that works pretty well with the background. It doesn't look right if it's just completely white. And I might try to lower it below the clouds just to see how that might interact with the different nuances of space, if you will. And there we go. It was a bit faster this time. Not a lot of a few objects to work with. Let's actually try and do this and see if I like this better. I might actually like this better. I'm not entirely sure. Although the center cloud is a bit much, I think we can achieve the same effect in a different way. So let me just do that, and let's see what we can do about the colors. So let's take the completely white and make that a little teeny tiny blue, and I'm going to take the opacity and lower it about 80, maybe even lower. How about 60? Nah, 75? I can actually do 75. I think I like that actually, because if we do a 4% blur, I said 4. That was not 4. There we go. It is maybe a bit too much. Okay, so maybe not a blur then, but I think I can take, if I take a duplicate of this, I make it full opacity, no blur, and then I take this tool, which might burn my computer down, I don't know, but we'll see if an offset is actually going to be beneficial in this. So if I make 0.1 negative and it doesn't burn my computer down, I might actually be able to make a sort of glare to this. Did it? Oh, let's see what happened. Let's see what happened here. The idea here is I hope that some of the smallest stars, they disappear completely, and some of the, yeah, okay, so we can actually, okay, we can do better. We can do better. So if I do negative 25, that should leave the biggest stars left with an even bigger center missing, and the small stars should just be this. Okay, so if I do this, I think this might actually look pretty, let me see. This should give the illusion that the big stars shine brighter, even though they're the same object. I think I like this quite a bit. So let's do this, and then let's actually go back and look at the background, because that was just the initial strike. I'll do what I always do and make a backup of the different color works I do, so we could take the original background. I noticed this one, I can name it background 1, and I can apply that to this object as well, so that if I change it over here, I don't lose it. So it only stores the color works that actually are used. So if I take this and I might change this a bit to something a bit brighter in the middle. and you can see when I switch it over, you can see what's actually going on. Now I want this to be coincidental with the big central cloud there, so I'm just going to take the thing and do something like this. Oh, sorry, something like this, yeah. And then I'm going to take and move it back a bit. Something like this maybe. And then if I do another stop like this, I can do completely black there, and I can do completely black down there as well. And that would be one way to do it. I think this is pretty. There's some touches of some stuff going on, and I could be convinced this was some quick and dirty 20-minute craft here of some space backgrounds. And again, you don't need to zoom in on all the stars. You don't need to know that they're just circles. You don't need to know any of that. You can just take this and use as is. And let's actually try something else for a moment. Let me just do this, where I try to actually take the background and make it on top. Maybe, I don't know if I'm crazy, but this might just... No, wait, what am I thinking? No, that wouldn't... Maybe? Okay, let's try this. I don't know if this is going to add anything or not, but if I take a homogeneous rectangle and I make this black and I just add... Okay, this looks pretty nice actually, coincidentally, but if I take the filters and add the watercolor on top, and I then take the... Oh, sorry, the other way around. Basically, I'm going to dissolve the clouds so much that hopefully the rest of the image is going to shine through in a really interesting way. Maybe, if we're lucky. So what I'm hoping to achieve here is another way to sort of break up the open atmosphere. So even at 100% opacity, then I can start lowering the... So what I'm trying to look here for here is a way to further manipulate and break up the flatness without doing a ton of work. So this is, I guess, a way to do that. It took more of the green than I had hoped, but that is not to be helped. It is very subtle, it is very surface level, but that is another layer of depth you could add to it by just draping it over everything. Even the stars are affected, although you can barely see it. If I do this and... interesting. Interesting. Flat color. No blur. Ha 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 ha. Notice that? The very much blurred image became the center point for the new object after I applied the gradient to it, which pretty much reset how much I can blur this object, taking it to the extreme level that you're seeing here by just basically blurring an already blurred object 200%. That's I mean, that's one way to do it. I'm just going to leave that be, I think, but it did add something, I think. Now, in terms of what I could do with a color scheme, let's actually try and save this up and do another technique on the. I'm just going to save this first. Straight D, 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 there we go. So that's going to be background 2, just so that I have it. I think. Oh, it's a stroke. Never mind. We're not doing strokes. We're doing fill. That makes sense. BG2. Yeah, there we go. So that's the one we have now. And instead of doing a straight gradient, let's actually try and do the mesh just to see what happens, because I have a feeling that maybe, just maybe, we can use this to our advantage. By first of all, we're going to do a very dark one, and then I'm going to add another point there and there to get that point right there where I need it. So I'm going to take this point and I'm going to make it ever so slightly like that maybe. And I'm going to remove some of the uniformity of the background to make it less rigid. Something like this, I think. That would look pretty good right there. And of course we have the blue center. We need some really dark blue shade there. Something bold and big like this might be just what the doctor ordered. And the cool thing about a mesh gradient like this is that we can deform this as much as we want, and it won't mess with anything we're not supposed to mess with. It'll be good to go forever. Something like, oh, I like this. I like this a lot. Let's actually take the original cloud and move that down a bit, because it's a bit much right now. If I go back to the smoke and I just use my magic to grab the bottom cloud there, that's the first one, that's the background. So we got back and take this one, there we go. And I actually just lower the opacity even more. So we have the original at 100, let's go to 95 on that. And 25. Let's go on 70. Yeah, that's something like that. And then we take the other cloud. There we go. And we grab that at maybe 90% and 30. So that just really, I think that did a lot, because it just took it down a little bit from the very on point colors to a bit more subtle. And let's do the same thing with this. I really like the background we did there. You can see, no you can't. Let me just try that again. If we take this and move it away, you can see there's still a kind of glow in the dark there, and we really want to, I want to lean into that. So I'm going to take this, make it darker actually, but also more transparent. So let's go like that, and then we take this and we make it maybe 15. Yeah, maybe a bit much. Let's try and take that to 70. Let's try and make that 50. I can live with that. And that just adds it a bit more depth, but a bit less on the nose. I think I really like this. This is compared to the one I did 7 minutes ago. This one is better, I think. And let's actually take this to the next step and logically expand this to the green one as well. So I'm going to take my tool, and we're going to add another stop. That would be right there. And let's do a, oh, this is a wild one. This is a really wild one. This is far too much. But we're gonna try it anyway. Lower the opacity way much because I said way much. That's not way much. What's going on? Why does it go to white as it approaches alpha? That makes no sense. What is happening? Why would you do that? Okay, I don't know why it has that behavior. It should not. It should fade to nothing. Why does it not fade to nothing? I'm not sure I like that. Can I do, in point of fact, anything that isn't incredibly overt? How about this? I think I'm gonna call it quits on that. I think that's about as good as you're gonna get, without me having to actually do a bunch of separate mesh gradients for the clouds themselves. And I could do a mesh gradient on the stars, and I could do a mesh gradient on, like, I could go on and on. But I wanted to keep this short and sweet, and just sort of try my hand at doing an actual space background. I've done stars uh, previously in some of my projects, but I haven't done an actual, honest to god, star sky out in outer space. So I have the weird cloud thingies and the stuff. I could add. Oh, should I add a planet? Let's add a planet real quick. We can do a planet, surely, easily. We can do. Question is, big or small? Should we do a Star Wars Tatooine in the bottom, or should we do? No, let's do something else. Let's do something else. Let me do a. We're going to have to do it below the stars, so we're going to have to do something like. Okay, let's actually do it below the clouds as well. Let's do that layer. Let's do a planet, as you are wont to do. I don't know why that is so hard. It's just a planet. No need to freak out. So let's do something like this maybe, where we take a tiny. I mean, the most interesting corner of this right now is by far this down here. Don't ask why. I've just decided that. Get rid of the stars for the moment, just so I have an easier time making this. Let's. I mean, blue is sort of the best color, right? But maybe not blue because of the whole color scheme. What about something orange or yellow? 50-50. Let's go with yellow. Something like this, I think. And add in, yeah, maybe up here, right? Something like that. And then I'm going to get rid of the smoke just for a moment. It makes it a little faster on my end. A real planet is not real slow, so let me just deform that ever so slightly. So it's not a circle anymore, it's just an ellipse. And then we'll just take, let's take a, should we make a drop shadow just real quick, just to see how that, is that going to be too weird? Yeah, no, it's not a black hole we're making here. No, no. We're just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. Something like this. I think the light of that direction makes sense, frankly, given the fact that we got a big fat cloud or something right here. Um, the glare is a bit much. Let's try and reduce that a bit. And we're going to try, and I think a clip group is going to work best for this. And let's see if we can make a something like this, maybe, where we do a dark shadow. Let me just take the blur of this and go up to maybe 10. That was not 10. No? What is happening? Something, yeah, okay, now we're getting it. Now we're getting it, something like that. And we probably want to have an atmosphere of this thing. So if I go back out of the group again, exit the group, like that, we're good to go. We'll take this whole thingy and we'll make a bright blue, make that a little bit bigger, and we want to do it perfectly, so I'm going to use a path effect where we just offset that a little teeny bit. What is happening? Oh, it's a group. Why is that a group? Did I forget? Clipped in layer planet. Why is it clipped? No, it's not. Go away. What have I gotten myself into? Although it's a really cool effect, it's not what I was looking for. We are out of the group, right? Oh, it's because I duplicated it. I'm a fool. So duplicate that, take that, and ungroup it. And we're gonna take that clip, that right there, and we're going to move it outside. No? Sometimes I don't understand this. Take that, get rid of that. This is a path. This is also a path. What path is that? That's the same ellipse. So what in the name of sanity is that? Okay, no, I'm just going to back out of this. I don't really care. Let's go and do this. So far so good. We got a clip. Somehow we got two of them. I'm just going to delete that. Don't want that. We got the group. Don't want that. That is the clip. Why is that not included in the clip? There we go. And then if I do this, we get an original path, right? Yeah. I don't know why that didn't work the first time, but anyway, I'm going to take this. I'm going to make, because this is, why is this a group? I don't get that. Uh-oh. Huh. Well, gotta save Inkscape emergency saves, so we actually didn't lose any progress there. I don't know why I freaked out about that. And it's about time I see if the whole thing repeats itself. Maybe it does in a moment when I do the same thing. Huh. No, it didn't. So we're just gonna get rid of that. We're going to get rid of, we got ellipse, we got that thing, we got that thing, the clip and the whole thing. So let's just load that off. And okay, so back to, wait a minute, why is that? Oh gosh, get rid of that. Is it a copy of a copy, or is it, huh? Anyway, let's try this again without actually having any groups this time. Path effect, let's do an offset 0.2, I think was the starting point. Please tell me. Oh my god, it's clipped. Why is it clipped? Jesus Christ. How is it clipped inside though? There's only one object there, and it's not this one. How is this? It's not even on the clip. Okay, so what happens if we release it? Thank you. I think. Clip 1, 2. Okay, so thank you. Now, was that so hard? Jesus Christ. Messing about with clips, man, it's a blessing and a curse. Actually, no, let's not do any blurs directly. Instead, we're going to do the blur by using a gradient, so it gives the same effect, but slightly. Let's actually change this to 80. The good thing about the live path effect is we can just do this all day if we want. Right? What is happening? Is it not going to? Oh, it didn't respect the fact that, okay. Never mind then. Is this a bit much? I think it's a bit much. Something, I don't know if this is too bland. Maybe something like that. Let's try and bring the whole thing back and see what happens. And I just realized I need to move the stars. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it right on top of everything else. Right on top of everything else. please, if you please. Boom, we got a planet. I mean, I could do better, but again, I wanted to keep this short, so that was just a tangential one-off thing. Wanted to try and do that. Within the clip group, you can add clouds, you can add cover, you can add a mountain, other bits of texture. You can do whatever the hell you want. For this purpose, it's just this is basically one big proof of concept, right? So I'm just going to leave it here. With that, you can do a lot with clouds and some basic spray tools and a mesh gradient, which is what I want to say with this whole thing, frankly. So even though it took a bit longer than I wanted to, because of the scriptless nature of the thing, I think I got the point across for what I wanted to do. So I'll leave this here for you all. Hope it helps someone out there somewhere, and I'll see you maybe later. Bye.